Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Well, we have a great guest coming in this week. He's a great friend of ours, a great voice actor, and he just wrote a new book called Making Money in Your PJs, all about our business. Paul Strikwerda will be with us live Monday night on East-West Audio Body Shop.
I'm going to talk about, or actually have a presentation from my Whittam's World series about audio processing. It's something we talk about probably at least once a month on the show. Here's my take on a few tricks to streamline audio processing and when you should use it.
And continuing in the voiceover technology, since that's what we always talk about, I am going to answer the age-old question, which is the best microphone to use for voiceover?
Let me give you a hint. It's this one.
East-West Audio Body Shop. Join us in the chat room Monday night, 9 o'clock in the East.
And 6 o'clock out here in the West.
And we'll see you there.
He's the home voiceover studio engineer to the stars in Los Angeles, California. A Virginia Tech grad whose knowledge of the latest recording gear is second to none. He's a voice actor and the home studio master, hailing from Buffalo, New York. His home studio skills and knowledge of voiceover recording is unmatched. When Dan and George talk shop, people listen, and the talk continues tonight. Welcome to East-West Audio Body Shop. And now, live from his high-tech facility in Santa Monica and his penthouse studio in Buffalo, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
Good evening. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. All right. Another Monday night. Gee, I think we've only taken one Monday night off in all of 2014.
I know we've had quite a run, haven't we?
We have.
There's just too much good content, too many great guests, and not enough stuff going on Monday nights. What happened to all the holidays that interrupt the show? What happened?
I don't know. Next week we're going dark.
Yeah, we are.
For once.
So if anybody's wondering, I did not get in a knife fight over the last cronut at the farmer's market. I ran into a tree and scratched my head. Ow. And I was wearing a helmet at the time, which made it all the more frustrating. In fact, I recall taking my helmet off and throwing it on the ground in frustration. Nice. Why do I wear a helmet if it still scratches my head? Anyway, yeah. I'm fine.
I can bring you a goalie mask. That's really how you should go through life.
And this is the day of going to a wedding. And I haven't been to a wedding in months. And the day of, anyway, I'm fine. Nothing wrong here.
It's always fun to show up with a wedding with some, foul mark on your face.
Face wound, yeah.
Whoa. Well, I had an interesting one happen to me this week. You know how people are constantly sending me mustache stuff?
Yeah.
Like mustache candy, mustachio sticky notes, different sticky notes with mustaches. But I was very, very glad to get something from somebody that had nothing to do with a mustache. And I had to think about it for a while, but Doug Turkel sent me this.
What the heck?
Jay and Duke talking action figures from Bush's Beans.
Oh, jeez, that is really obscure.
And this one says,
"Are you ever going to let me sell this secret family recipe?"
Wow.
So, and I'm thinking, why would Doug send me this? And then, of course, because whenever we do the tip of the week, I always say, roll that beautiful bean footage.
That's right.
And I think that's what Doug was...
That is one successful catchphrase, ladies and gentlemen.
It absolutely is. Now, I'm debating whether to actually open this up because my son Jacob, who collects, movable figures and stuff, is like, come on, open that up. I'm like, do you know how valuable this thing is?
Oh, God, it's a toy. Open it up.
All right.
Oy vey.
I told him as soon as we were finished with East-West Audio Body Shop, I would open it up and and then we'll figure out where, where Jay actually talks, because so far all we get is...
Secret family recipe starts with beans and... Uh-oh, Jay's coming.
Hey, that could be your voice, ladies and gentlemen.
It could be. Voiceover, somebody had to do that.
I know, that's right.
Or toys, in an elevator or something like that.
So, Dan, you going to tell us about the best microphone ever made for voiceover?
I will in a second, but first, because you always get ticked when I forget to do this, we have to thank our sponsors.
Oh, yes.
I beat it to you this week. Beat you to it this week. All right. Yes, of course. Harlan Hogan, who was with us last week and talking about all the great stuff that he has, and we'll talk more about that later. Our good friend John Florian at VoiceOver Extra, and of course your good friends at Edge Studio.
Friends, boss. You know what's the difference?
They're your friends. We're all friends in this business.
No, it's a great family kind of feeling over there at Edge. We love them. Thanks to all of you for supporting the show.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. What am I going to talk about? All right. Now, this is, I keep harping on this, but even after we've said it week after week after week after week, people still ask. All right. It appears that the Mac versus PC thing seems to have gone by the wayside. But the question that we're getting now is, and you see it in the forums like every day, what's the best microphone for voiceover? And I really, every time I see it, I go, stay out of it. Stay out of it. Don't go into that forum. Just do not go there, and wait for somebody else to say something really stupid.
And then pounce.
And then, well, here's one way to look at it. And let me try and solve this once and for all. For the next 5 minutes, anyway. One way to look at it. Which ones aren't very good? And the thing that really got me last week was the guy saying, well, you should use an SM57. Using an SM57, for those of you who are wondering, a Shure SM57 is a live stage mic. That you have to talk really close into, and it's
great for guitar amps and snare drum heads.
Yes, and Axl Rose, minus about 30 dB on the pad there,
right?
And they're not designed for live voiceover. And I keep saying this week after week. You don't sound real talking half an inch from somebody's eardrum, which is what an SM57 is like, or any dynamic mic for that purpose. Now, sure, the RE20, which we talked about a few weeks ago, is used by a few people, but it's hardly the best microphone for recording voiceover. It's great if you're on the radio, and, and it's 20 degrees here at 5107, whatever. Can't even remember the call letters of the 30 or 40 stations I was at. I hold the modern day record for the most radio stations worked at in 1 year.
Get out of here.
16.
16?
16 radio stations in 1 year.
That's kind of hard to believe.
Well, imagine what it was like for me. I can't remember all the call letters, but I count them like, geez, I was at 16 radio stations in 1 year. Now, this was back in 1980, so it was like, back in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
But the way I looked at it was, well, that means 16 stations hired me.
That's right.
So
was that the mic you used, the RE20?
No, there was a bunch. There was the Sennheiser, the
421,
the 421,
441,
and
that rectangular kind of weird looking long.
That's right, right, and the 414, I think was the other one. I can never remember the whatever the numbers were. But not an RE20. RE20s really didn't come into prominence until about 1985 or so.
Yeah.
And but don't use it for voiceover. All right. Now, here's why. Remember, we're not talking about going into the legendary Mark Rouse studio in Hollywood or Abbey Road studios in London. We are talking about, remember this term, your personal studio in Kansas City, Kalamazoo, or Kathmandu. The less perfect the environment, especially in Kathmandu, the less optimum a mic you need to use. The best mics for voiceover are the most sensitive mics. Now, consider this. That doesn't help when someone starts running the dryer or a school bus goes by. Unless you've got a professional sound booth that rejects the majority of the sound, don't go spending $1,000 on a voiceover mic. My standard has always been any studio condenser mic between $200 and $350. If you use it right, it will capture you as you exist. Now, some with a little bit more coloration than others, but guess what? Even you can't tell the difference. And I dare anyone to tell the difference between mics, all right? Now, I have 4 mics. First I have my TLM 103, which of course I love because it makes me sound like me. However, it is extremely sensitive, and on noisy days, especially when grass gets cut a lot in the spring here in Western New York, this will pick up a lawnmower 2 blocks away, even in my booth, which is pretty sound tight. So this is not a good choice on noisy days. When it's a nice quiet day or it's the middle of the night, this thing sounds sweet. But it's $1,000, and I can only use it when the conditions are right. Another mic I have is this dandy little thing, which is the ES100, the Cat ES100, or E100S. It's upside down, so I can't read it that well. Why is it that a mic is like this when we all use it like that? Anyway, but the E100S, great mic. I know our guest Paul Strikwerda likes this one too. And a lot of people should try this one. Not expensive and very heavy duty, comes with its own little shock mount. And it's a good mic to have because it has a nice flat response to it. Good mic and not expensive. Another great choice is our good friend Harlan Hogan's VO1A, because it's a great microphone at a great price point. And as you can hear, I don't sound like crap on it. It picks me up as I exist. All right. And of course, back in the booth, if you can see the booth back there, I have my 416. Now, it's rapidly becoming the favorite of a lot of people, not only for its sound, but its highly directional pattern, which rejects side noise. The Sennheiser 416 is great for that. Now, any one of these mics, along with, even the AKG Perception 220 and 230, the whole Perception series, and a few other ones, all of these mics that are like over $200, $250 will all fill the bill. They'll all do what's possible. But here's the real bottom line. First, while any mic will fill the bill, you still have to know how to use one. Just having it isn't going to do it. The bottom line is, it's not the microphone that gets you the work, it's the way you interpret copy. Use the mic and show people you know what you're doing. And one other thing. None of us are here in the voiceover biz to enjoy our own voices. It's to present our voices to potential clients the way they want to hear you. So here's the answer to the question. Get real. Do you think these guys casting a PowerPoint presentation are sitting there and saying, well, this guy's using U87, we should hire him? I mean, think about that. The advantage you have is your talent, not your mic. And that answers that question.
So you're saying?
I am saying.
It's the microphone that you probably already have.
It is the microphone you probably already have, unless you're using an old, Mac lapel mic or something.
Unless she's using like a completely horrible mic, something that sounds really awful, is very noisy, is broken, or otherwise just has a really high noise floor or something.
Exactly.
Chances are, if you got a decent studio microphone, it's probably going to work pretty well.
It's going to work fine if you know how to use it. If you position yourself in the right way, nobody's going to know the difference. Like we talked about last week, and the week before that, and the week before that, and the week before that, and 140 other times.
Pounded it into the dirt, folks.
Nobody needs to see how or where the sausage is made. They only hear the end result.
Right.
And if you have a good mic, if you use it right, if you don't overthink your audio chain, it'll be fine.
That is as long as you keep the webcam off in your booth.
Yeah.
So for everybody that watched the show,
just totally distorts the audio.
Everybody watched the show last week, heard my idea, and it was a lot of fun reading some of the feedback on Facebook about my idea about using a webcam in the booth. But yeah, nobody cares what it looks like. They just want to hear the end product, and however you get there is all that matters. If it sounds good, it is good.
And nobody knows the difference between a mic. Yeah. Maybe Mark Grau does.
Yeah, your top engineers are going to know it, But 120 guys that do voice acting production.
Right. That's right. But if they hear you and you sound and you do okay, and it's not terrible, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. End of rant for this week. For now.
Got it.
All right. We've got a Whittam's World coming up. We haven't even talked about who our guest is tonight. We just totally right over the top of that. Probably because we were busy chatting with him for the past half hour. Paul Strikwerda is going to be with us. Paul Strikwerda wrote a great new book called Making Money in Your PJs. He's going to talk all about that, and we're going to have a lot of fun with him, along with a couple of other topics. Got a Whittam's World coming up. Your questions, keep sending them in, please.
Yeah.
We want to answer your questions, because I think there were a couple this week that maybe we can address a little later on.
Yeah.
And we got lots more coming up. You all showed up, so we might as well do a show. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop.
And now back to the only webcast done with 2 cans, 2 geeks, and a string. East West Audio Body Shop with George Whittam on his end in the West and Dan Leonard in the East.
All righty, and we are back here on EWABS. As long as we can continue to call it that, that's a whole other story. But also, I've got lots of studio suits sitting in the basement, which we have to get rid of because my mom is coming in June, and all of it is piled up on my son's basement bed. So my mom has to sleep in his room. So we've got to get it out of here. So you have to buy it.
It's the definition of a home business I've ever heard of.
And it really is. It's a personal business.
Right.
Personal business. It works. Great stuff. Some people have mentioned that it smells kind of funky. Yeah, it does. Some of it does. A lot of it was outside for a long time, but it dissipates. And nothing damps the sound in a booth better than this stuff, bar none. So don't let that stop you, especially if you like to camp, because you go into your booth and it's like
very
I'm out in the woods.
It is very nostalgic.
Maybe I should try different types of Febreze on it or something. And go, here's the cinnamon scented studio suit.
Scratch and sniff edition.
Scratch and sniff, absolutely. Anyway, we've got a Whittam's World and not a lot of time, but take it away.
Here we go. I did a little something about audio processing. Here's my take on it. It's, let's go to school, kids. Well, we've got a question this week to start off the year about audio processing and how to use audio processing properly. And in this case, specifically, we're working in a software environment. So I'll be using Twisted Wave as usual as my example and showing you how I use Twisted Wave. This question came in from Scott McDonald, and he says, I know that many places do not want the VO talent to send auditions or completed work with any processing whatsoever. However, there are times when some post-production is worth the time and effort for a client who does not know about doing it themselves. In what order do you use the various processing in post-processing? Is it best to EQ first, then compress, or limit if needed? Who's on first? All the best, Scott McDonald. So, great question. But this would be really something that would apply to just about anybody. So I like these kinds of questions. They will help many of you in determining if you're going to use processing and how to use it. So let me start off with just recording a little bit of something in Twisted Wave here for you, so we have some audio to work with. We got some clean audio to work with. My parents didn't trust my Uncle Bobby. All right. So let's see, what would I do for processing? Well, let's start with showing you a typical effects stack that I would use. So I'll go to effects stacks. So let's do this one. I have one called male moderate. Always start by normalizing your audio before processing to a set limit that you always use. Everybody probably thinks I'm crazy. I'm the only one that does this, but I'll tell you, it makes people's lives a lot easier. Always by normalizing to -3. That's the way I calibrate my audio. That's the way I recommend that you do it as well, and you normalize using peak value. Once you've done that, then your processing settings will work more consistently. Your compression thresholds and your gate thresholds, all that stuff will work beautifully and consistently this way. All right, this is a pretty straightforward one that I would use quite often, or at least start out as a starting base. I like using templates to start my processing stacks so that I have the basic elements already preloaded and ready to go. So in this effects stack, and this would apply to any kind of a processing you'd use, whether it's Pro Tools and effects channels, inserts, or in Adobe Audition using the effects rack tool, or if you have to do it manually in some other software. This is the order in which I would do it. So I'd start with a high-pass filter. So what I'm using the high-pass filter for is for filtering out low-frequency noise, or rumble. I'm living in a house that has basically almost no rumble at all, so it's not a big deal here, but many of you probably will have some low-frequency noise. So setting the high-pass filter first will handle that pretty nicely for you and filter out everything below that frequency. Then we'll go to, I usually go to compression and or noise gating at this point. And I use the dynamics processor that comes with Twisted Wave audio units. And the settings I usually use a tack time under 1/100th of a millisecond, usually 5 thousandths of a second. Very, very fast attack. And a release about 0.8 or so. And gain, it's right now it's at 159, but normally I would just have that zeroed out. And I'll have a threshold, depending on where I want my compression to start, -25 to -20. And my gate or downward expander threshold somewhere around, -52 or something like that. But that depends on the noise in your room. Ratio 2 to 2.5 to 1. So I'm not going to train you on how to use every effect in this video. That's not the point. I'm just trying to show you what I use and in what order I use them. So I'll do the high pass, then I'll do compression and noise gating. Then I'll do my EQ sculpting. So my EQ comes next, and I use a graphic equalizer, but you can use a parametric equalizer, whatever type of equalizer you like to use. But I find a 31-band graphic EQ works great for tone shaping and making little corrections and just smoothing out the response and getting a pleasing sound if necessary. Not everybody needs EQ. Just because you have the tools doesn't mean you need to use them. So keep that in mind too. I do find often that people need to reduce some frequencies in the upper 6 to 10K range because that's where things get really sibilant, especially after compression. So I do find doing a dip down on that range makes sense. And then I'm doing further high-pass filtering as well, just as a matter of course. There's nothing ever that should be in the voice range or captured in the recording below 60 hertz. So that goes away. Then finally, I'll do my limiting. And again, I'm just using peak limiter. Comes with the Apple computer in audio units. Attack time, 2 milliseconds. Release time, about 7 milliseconds. And then the pre-gain. What I'm using pre-gain for is kind of a makeup gain. So after the levels are reduced through the use of compression, I'll show you how the volume changes so dramatically. So I'll play this back. In 1954, Desi Arnaz made my Uncle Bobby a TV star by casting him as Bobby the Bellboy in I Love Lucy. So that being said, if I play back without using my peak limiter, let's see where the levels end up. But Desilu's lawyers did an end run around Screen Actors Guild residual contracts. So it's like peaking under -6, okay? But for a final product that I want to, or a final product and or an audition where I want it to be real present and really come out, I want to make up the gain. I want to get more levels before clipping and make it sound louder without sounding over the top. So I'll use the limiter carefully for that. I have around I have it set to pre-gain setting of about 7 dB right now. When I enable that, let's see what that sounds like. So Bobby's stardom brought him fame, but not fortune. Many years after I Love Lucy went off the air, I tracked down my uncle in Hollywood and met him for the first time. Bobby Jellison was a storyteller, and in me he found an enthusiastic audience. And now let's bypass the whole chain and hear what it sounds like with nothing. Many years after I Love Lucy went off the air, I tracked down my uncle in Hollywood and met him for the first time. And now with. Years after I Love Lucy went off the air, I tracked down my uncle in Hollywood and met him for the first time. Bobby Jellison was a storyteller, and in me he found an enthusiastic audience, although I often wondered how much of what he told me was true. So you can hear the background noise that normally would be in my office from my computer and stuff is reduced dramatically because of the noise gate. It works pretty nicely. But you're going to have to make sure the client likes that process, and you won't know until you try or if you ask them. And if they don't know what they're doing, you're going to have to trust your own instincts, your own judgment, or ask someone like me for my opinion on what you should be sending out. So after I've processed, let me apply. Now look at the waveform. It's definitely a lot hotter, more uniform. And as you'll see, the peaks are now hitting right at 0 dB. So sometimes that's not an issue. For auditions, not a problem. But for jobs, some engineers may balk at that. They may think you might be clipping. They don't like the levels that hot. So then jump to normalize again and just bump it back down to -3. That's the way I do it. So your results will be very consistent this way if you use normalizing first, then apply your effects in the order of high pass filtering, compression dynamics, or noise gating, EQing, and limiting. That order seems to work very, very well for me. Sometimes I add another processor in there. Sometimes I vary things. Sometimes I don't use EQ, depending on what the needs are for the particular project. But that's a long answer to a simple question, but I wanted to show you more detail, give you a little bit more of a head start. So there you have it. Sorry, it's a long one, but it's a lot to cover in a less than 10-minute video. So I try to pack it in. I'm such a value guy. I want you to have lots of value every time I do these videos. So I hope that you found that helpful. But yeah, let's move on. Let's not waste any more time. We've got Paul waiting in the wings here.
Yes,
so
literally.
We will.
There he is. Did an angel just get its wings?
We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We'll bring Paul in, and we'll have a lot of fun with Paul Strikwerda. And we'll talk about his book, Making Money in Your PJs.
Right.
Stand by, everybody.
VO Studio Tech. Recording made simple.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
This is Jim Tasker from Los Angeles, California.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
Hi, this is Joe Szymanski.
Hey, this is Rick Robles.
Hi, my name is John Patrick Armstrong.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look
for opportunities to waste time? Call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish him.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
This is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Now, back to Dan and George.
And we are back here on East West Audio Body Shop, and we're glad you're with us tonight. Lots of you in the chat room, lots of you watching the show. We love having you here every week, and one of the reasons we love doing this show is because we get to meet some of the best people in the business, some of the most knowledgeable people in the business, some of the most fun people in the business, and some of the most philosophical and interesting people. And we certainly have all of that tonight with our guest joining us live from somewhere in Pennsylvania. What town is that, Paul?
Hey, I live in Easton, Pennsylvania.
Easton, Pennsylvania.
It's a historic town. It was one of the first 3 towns in which the Declaration of Independence was read for the very first time in history.
Wow.
Every year we have a reenactment on around July 4th. It's our Heritage Day.
Excellent. All right. Well, welcome once again to the show. This is the 3rd or 4th time you've actually been with us.
Oh, I wish. No, this is the 2nd time.
No. You were with us when we were in Harrisburg.
Oh yeah, I forgot that FAFCON 4, was it?
That's right.
That's right.
At Hershey.
Right.
That was a lot of fun. I remember that.
Yeah,
yes.
that was like one of the most watched shows we ever did, even though it looked like a Russian talk show.
Yeah.
It
looked like cable access.
It really because it was lower quality than that.
Yeah.
But welcome to the show. Now you have been like absent the last 6 months.
Oh, give it to me.
We haven't seen much of you. Where you been? What you been doing?
Well, yeah. Well, I have re-emerged from my man cave.
You're hibernating, or because it was a damn cold winter up here in the Northeast.
Oh boy, was it! It was absolutely cold. Well, it was part because I was busy with this little thing, my book, of course. That takes a lot of time. I underestimated it, but it was also kind of a tough time personally because some of you know that my father hasn't been doing too well, and I'm here in Pennsylvania, and he's over there in the Netherlands. And I actually went back to the Netherlands to what I thought was say goodbye to him, because at the end of the year, sorry to start this interview on such a somber note, but you're asking what was up, and so I'll be honest with you. So we went back to the Netherlands to say our goodbyes because my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Mm. And so we stayed there for a couple of weeks, and we've been in very, very close touch ever since. And the good news is that my dad is right now on a cruise, enjoying himself very much, and the treatment that was chosen for him is really doing wonders. So he got another lease on life, another 2 to 3 years, and so that was great. And that took a lot of my time as well. It does tie in, by the way, with why this now, because when I got the message from my dad that he basically didn't have that long to live, you start to really think about what do you want to do, what do you want to accomplish, what's important in life. And one of the things I really wanted is that my dad would be able to see this book that I had been writing in my mind for so many years. And my mom died a couple of years ago, and I already told her, I'm going to write that book, Mom. I'm going to write that book, and I'm going to dedicate it to you. And then she passed away, so I was never able to do that. I said, that's not going to happen to me this time. So I'm really glad that my dad's still with us. He's doing well, and that he now can have this copy of my book.
Yeah. Now, remember, your first book was on how you built your personal studio. We're no longer using home studio anywhere. They're now personal voiceover studios. And you're sitting in it now, and it's working great for you, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This has meant so much to me. I've become more and more productive. I remember, we talked about the bad winter. We've had some really hot summers. And my first studio was all the way up in the attic. And I remember one particular summer where it was over 100 degrees, 110, 112. I felt like I was recording in a sweat lodge. This book is called Making Money in Your PJs. I was making money in less than my PJs. you could call me like the naked voiceover apart from some boxer shorts. That was absolutely horrendous. So after that very hot summer, I said, I'm not going to do that. I am going down. My business is going down. And the great thing about being in Pennsylvania is that, a lot of houses have basements with very thick walls. And with a friend of mine who's a contractor, we came up with a great plan, and within about 2 months or so, we built this studio. It's sort of 7x7, and the only thing is there are no windows, but there's no distraction. It's just me, my microphone, my computer, and I'm very happy here.
Yeah. So, what prompted you to write a full-length book about the voiceover business?
Yeah, well, it was really to get a couple of people in our wonderful community off my back. That was another reason. Because I can tell you, I get so many emails every week whenever I publish a new blog post. And every time someone would write to me, every freaking week, when are you going to write this book? When can we buy this? Because, the blog is fine, but it's, the thing with blogs is it's kind of in one ear, out the other, It's good for engagement. It's good for dialogue, but it doesn't have staying power, So I wanted to do something to to have more staying power, to get something that's a little bit more tangible, that people put away, look at it again. And so I finally gave in. And since I made the announcement, fortunately, nobody bothered me again. And the other thing is, I'm very much into doing something for the community. So I wanted to give something that people could talk about, and that's one of the nice things that's already happening, that we have all these voiceover meetup groups, all over the country. And people are starting to read this book together, even though it's only been out for a couple of weeks. And they say, okay, let's pick a topic, pick a chapter, and have some springboard for discussion. So that's another reason, And I'll admit it, it's good for me too. It's not just for my dad. It's not just for the community, but I think it definitely helps. It's part of my branding. I made sure that my picture with the tulips is on the back, and you can see my website here, nethervoice.com. So when people pick this book up, they'll be reminded of me, and hopefully check out my website and check out my voice, and they'll take it from there.
What's the focus of this particular book? I mean, is it biographical, or is it a self-help, or all the above, or what?
Yeah, all the above. Because when I started thinking about this book, I thought, what do I want this book to be? Just for voiceovers, or for freelancers in general, or is it going to be both? And then I started looking at what's already available, and we have a lot of great voiceover books already on the shelves, and a lot of them are kind of voiceovers for beginners, advanced tongue twisters, part 3, or how to build a home studio, which microphone to get, all that sort of stuff. And there are not too many books about the business of being in business. So I wanted to do a book about the business side that would address, I think, one of the big problems that voiceovers seem to have today, namely, what is it like to be a professional? How can you be a professional? What does it mean? And I think that there's a market for that, definitely. The other part of that book is I didn't want to do it only for voiceovers, but for freelancers as well. Because one of the great joys of my blog is that I connect with a lot of people outside of the voiceover community. And I wanted to make sure that just as I try to write in my blog for other people in voiceovers, that this book would appeal to those people as well.
Yeah. Now, somebody was telling me this morning, and I won't mention any names, but he knows who he is. We were talking about, people don't understand what it means to be an entrepreneur anymore. that, kids are graduating from college and they're like, I'm going to go get a job. And nobody's saying, and he had a great quote, and he said, I want to be an entrepreneur. We don't hear kids saying that kind of stuff anymore. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's part of it has to do with the way vocational trainings are organized. You may know that my wife is a professional musician. She teaches flute and piano. And, when you go to a conservatory, they teach you all about how to play an instrument, how to conduct an orchestra. But nobody's teaching you anything about how to be in business, how to start your own business, how to market yourself. And the same thing is true for a lot of creative freelance professions. They know a lot about, let's say photography, but not a lot about being an entrepreneur. And, the same is true for the voiceover community. And that's another reason why I wanted to write this book. Because there's so many people thinking about, okay, I like doing voiceovers for a hobby, but at what point should I transition and turn my hobby into a profession? And once they made that step, what do you do next? How do you market yourself without tooting your horn all over the place and annoying the heck out of everybody? Your rates, that's an ongoing discussion as well. What's a professional rate? How do you stay in business? How do you price yourself for profit? And so that's kind of the focus. And I think that there is a big need for that's not being addressed in a lot of the voiceover books that I have on my shelf.
What makes this one different from all the other voiceover books, from the plethora of books that we see, offered on the internet and you can make $1 million, with your voice and stuff. I don't think that's an actual title. It actually might be, but.
Well, Six-Figure Income, I think. Bill DeWeese has a book which is really, really popular. It's a great book, by the way. How to make a six-figure income doing voiceovers. Well, what I've tried to do is, I over the years, I've been blogging for 4 years now. I think I've developed kind of my own style, which is based on storytelling. That's the stuff what a voiceover is made of. We're the ancient tribe of storytellers, reinvented with a lot of technology. But I found, that it's not very effective to tell people what to do, because they can say, I agree, I don't agree. But people don't like being sold, and they don't really like being told, you need to do this, you need to do that. But if you write a story about other people, or if I tell a little bit about my life, how I do things, you can make suggestions and give people ideas of how to improve their business. So rather than this being a 1, 2, 3 guide of, start it from scratch and then become an accomplished voiceover actor, I'm just telling stories without kind of doing the memoir type of thing, like, 20 years ago I met this person and that person, and a lot of name dropping. I try to create characters based on people that I know and mix characters up and to get my points across. So storytelling, I think, is a big part of this book, which I'm proud.
Well, that in that case, is it possible that you could read us a paragraph, a good selection, to give us a little bit of a taste of what a fine piece of literature this is? And I mean that seriously. I mean, this is
no.
It sounds like we're on NPR. So
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at pick one story that I really like, and so you can admire my funky glasses as well. By the way, these are computer glasses.
I was going to say,
you and I, we stare at our monitors all day long, and I suffer from ear fatigue and I suffer from eye fatigue. So I went to Staples and got these computer glasses, and they filter the rays that come off the screen. And let me just I'm completely confusing myself now by trying to do two things at the same time.
I never get confused ever.
Yeah.
We'll just do a clicker solo.
Yes. Yeah, do that. Okay, 2:15. This is it. I'm going to read a little bit about the most obnoxious man in voiceovers. Okay, here we go. Characters. The voiceover world is filled with them, on screen and off screen. Most of these characters are very likable, but every now and then you'll encounter a rotten apple, an arrogant bully, or a troll. A week ago, I ran into one of them at a New York audition. I'd seen him before at some other place. He was an older guy dressed in a classic three-piece suit. His tan was as fake as the color of his hair. When he spotted me filling out the sign-up sheet, he bellowed, "Hey, Danish guy! I'm surprised to see you here. Did you finally decide to join the big leagues?" I tried to ignore him, but he went on. "Tell me, are you union yet?" No, I'm still happily non-union," I answered. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to take a look at the copy." "Well, we all have to start somewhere, I guess," he continued. "I was non-union for a while, but then this serious work started coming in. This was back in the day when nobody's working out of a walk-in closet. Of course, you wouldn't know this, but I got my big break when guys like Bo and Joe were first making the rounds." "Could you please keep it down? I'm trying to focus," said a pale, nervous young man standing in the corner. "I will ignore that," my colleague continued. "Real pros can prepare their script anywhere, regardless of the circumstances. Am I right or am I right?" The way he said those last lines, there was something about it. It sounded like a commercial from the 50s or 60s. Then he turned back to me. "Let me ask you something, my European friend. What did you think of that Pepsi audition?" "What Pepsi audition?" I asked. "You know, the one that every agent in North America sent to his entire Rolodex yesterday," he answered. "Are you telling me you didn't get it?" No, I don't think so," I said. "Oh, no worries," he responded. "You'll get there. Give it some time. It only paid $4,000 for a 30-second spot anyway. It's ridiculous."
Joey, it's just a spot in the tag.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you've done your fair share of cattle calls, there's always one of these people. And what I did in this story, I combined a couple of experiences that I had that can be rather intimidating, you know?
Yeah.
And then at the end, something happens to the man. And I always try to have kind of a twist in my stories too. So I tried to paint him a little bit, kind of as the most obnoxious man in voiceovers, but once you finish the story, he becomes rather endearing, at least I hope he becomes endearing.
That's called stories with more than one dimension. We like
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So that's kind of, this is one aspect of the book. It has a lot of stories in it. And, it's kind of an accumulation of 30 years of my experience as someone who came from the Netherlands and started kind of a new life in 1999. Didn't really know what to do in this new world. And I came from radio and I missed it very much. And I said, I know how to work a mic a little bit. And the first thing I did, I went to Mike Lemon Casting in Philadelphia. And they cast all the movies of M. Night Shyamalan, and the voiceover director picked me out of the crowd, and Joanne Joella is her name. She's phenomenal. And I started working for them. Yeah, much to my surprise, and look at me now.
and there you are.
There I am, yeah. I can't believe it. Sometimes I have to pinch myself and say, is this really happening?
This is one of the most fun businesses out there.
Yeah.
So where can someone obtain this book?
Oh, everywhere. Yeah, that's one of the things I said at the beginning. When I want to publish a book, it's going to be in paperback. It's out on a Nook. If you have a Barnes & Noble Nook, if you have a Kindle, you can get it. It's on the iPad. And there's a website with all the links. And, of course, it's makingmoneyinyourpjs.com. No www, but just makingmoneyinyourpjs.com. And as a matter of fact, I'm running a kind of a contest. So if you get the book within now and the next 3 weeks, and you take a picture of yourself in your booth or in your PJs, on your bed or whatever, and send that to my Facebook page or Twitter page, you can win some nice prizes.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I'm really cheap because I'm Dutch, but I wanted to give something valuable too. The Dutch are the cheapest people. This book was done on a shoestring budget, honestly, but it turned out okay, I think.
Well,
but,
we always ask people that write a book is when will the audiobook version come, and will you be the voice on your own book?
Yes. Well, in fact, I've been recording all day. Maybe you can hear it in my voice. I've been recording all day, and I think I have about 60 chapters to go, and each chapter is like 10 minutes.
Oh, that helps.
But so I'd say in about a month or so, I hope the audiobook to be ready. But people can actually, if they take a picture of themselves with my book, they can win a paperback version. They can also win an interview with me on my blog, and it goes out to at least 12,000 subscribers. And the big prize is like a 45-minute Pick Paul's Brain session. So if your picture with my book wins, then you can either pick my brain, or I'll interview you for my blog, or you'll get a paperback version.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we've got, I can't read. It sounds like a great read. So I can't read to get my way through it. And I don't read a lot of books, but I've been looking forward to this one. And, because it's something I think most of us can relate to. But as you said, this is a book for just about anybody, just to get a little bit of a look into this nutso world that you and I live in.
Well, that's true. Voiceovers is hot at the moment. They sold, I think, $1.3 billion worth of audiobooks alone in 2013. So people want to know what's going on behind the scenes. So even if you're not interested in voiceovers, but you want to know what we do, it's a fun book. And I've heard of couples who are reading it together. One guy just wrote me an email and said, my wife is a piano teacher, and she's reading over my shoulder, and she's picking up stuff about how to promote her own business. So you can basically, I think, interchange the word voiceover and do like freelance photographer, graphic designer.
Yep, absolutely.
And then there's also plenty of nuggets for people like us voiceover actors. But hey, there's my iPhone.
Welcome to Shorewood.
Now on iPhone cover, making money in your PJs.
The Huns are attacking.
Well, that's right.
I think it was really enlightened idea to not call the main title of the book, something voiceover, because again, it does. Somebody else that doesn't know anything about voiceover or doesn't know it's about voiceover may pick it up because they're like, oh, I want to make money in my PJs, so it does apply to more people for sure.
By the way, my neighbors do believe that I am in my PJs all day long. They really have no idea what I'm doing. But I like to wear loose clothing. Sure. Who doesn't?
You need to.
Fleece is my fabric of choice.
I'm just thinking.
Whenever I emerge out of my man cave / recording studio, I'm in my fleece outfit on the porch feeding the squirrels, and then I see my neighbors to the left and the right and look at me.
I'm just picturing you wandering out to get the newspaper in your slanket or something like that.
Or the Snuggie or whatever it is.
Snuggie or whatever the heck those things are.
Little Snuggie, baby. Making money in your Snuggie or something like that.
It's going to make a lot of noise on the mic, though. Sort of.
But my neighbors believe that I do not work. That I let my wife, do all the hard work, and that I just hang out in my PJs. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and sometimes I do.
And I think all of us do. I know I usually don't. I'm usually wearing whatever as I was sleeping until about noon.
Yeah.
But I've got the whole. I do a lot in the morning, and it's like, why bother?
Yeah. And we were talking about should you put a camera in your studio, so people can watch you. Yeah. No, never.
Not a good idea.
No, unless you want to be on EWABS.
I know this is just sort of not to do with the book, but I mean, just for you personally. I've just, from folks that I've met from the Netherlands, they tend to have the most amazing American accent. Like that they have a really good English American accent. Or American accent, I mean to say. Oftentimes, I'm often blown away. Now, you can always hear a little bit of the Dutch in it. Mm-hmm. But the accent... Yeah. So, did you learn American English? And was it hard to program the Dutch out of your voice once you started studying voice acting?
It happened gradually. Because the Netherlands is so close to the United Kingdom, at least when I grew up, and in the 70s and 80s, it was the Queen's English that we learned at school. So when I came to the United States, I talked a little bit like this, and everybody thought that I was not from Holland. And I before I got my green card and could actually work for a living, I did some work on the side as a waiter, and my British accent was really good for tips. So I sounded like, more or less like a Brit with a little bit of a Dutch accent. And then I started, my accent started shifting a little bit without me having much control over it. And now it's this weird mix. When I hear myself, I don't even know what it is. It doesn't sound very American to me. It doesn't sound British at all. It doesn't sound Dutch, because the Dutch, if they would really talk English with the Dutch accent, then they would sound a little bit more like this. A guy who talks like this is the Dutch movie director Paul Verhoeven, who directed RoboCop, and Showgirls and other movies that are not worth watching, Starship Troopers. But this is more like a Dutch accent,
Right.
They talk like this, and then they have a finger in the dike and walk around in clogs. Yeah, if I have a sound leak in my studio, I just use my finger and it's all good.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All Dutchmen have a finger made of UGL. Anyway, well, we've got a few more things we want to talk to with Paul about, because not just his book, but he's got some other thoughts on some other things. But before we get to that, we have to talk about one of our great sponsors who was with us last week, the one and only Harlan Hogan and VoiceOver Essentials out of the great town of Chicago, actually Great Barrington, Illinois, and great customer service. If you need voiceover stuff, and again, you don't have to buy the most expensive stuff. You've got to buy the stuff that is worth having, that is going to make your life easy. And it's not necessarily always the most expensive stuff. Right. Sometimes it's really simple things like
a headphone hanger.
Like a headphone hanger.
Yeah.
Or a boom jock. I don't know why I'm obsessed with the boom jock, but it's a great little device. Yeah. It just, it just
the
makes
ABS.
The
adjustable
ABS
boom stop.
The adjustable boom stop.
Yeah, if you use a boom stand with a floor stand with a boom arm, this thing keeps the boom up, keeps your boom from sagging.
It keeps your boom from going over.
That's right.
And so if you want to find some interesting stuff, things that, make your life a little bit easier, go on over to voiceoveressentials.com and order the stuff from there. Great customer service, great prices, money back guarantee. I mean, he does everything the way a good online retailer should. And it's just kind of fun to, deal with what, Harlan has to offer over there.
Yeah.
Plus, he has access to a lot of other things, too, that aren't just his own signature series stuff, like the headphones and the VO1A, the voiceover microphone, and a number of other great products that he has. Of course, the Portabooth and the Portabooth Pro and the Portabooth Plus. So go on over there, voiceoveressentials.com. Tell them we sent you.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks,
George and
Harlan.
I from East West Audio Body Shop. Thanks a lot, Harlan. All right, we're still here with the one and only Paul Strikwerda. It's Strikwerda. How do I say that?
That's a good question, because that's a question I get a lot. The Dutch would say Strikwerda. We like the rolling R. Strikwerda. So
Strikwerda. Okay.
Strikwerda. The stress is on the first syllable.
All right.
But some people say Strikweirdo. I've heard all kinds of versions of varieties.
As long as the check clears.
That's a name that you can read phonetically and not be really far off on it.
That's right.
I have a name like that too. My last name is Whittam. Okay? It's been everything but that over the years. You read it right off the paper, letter for letter, and it pretty much comes out right. But I've heard it all, so I get it.
Yes. I get Mr. Leonard.
Yes.
That's not how we pronounce it. And it's always misspelled. So, but anyway, now you had in your blog and in a lot of discussions about 7-8 months ago, you were really ragging on the pay-to-play networks. which I'm not far behind you right now.
You want to go there?
I do want to go there.
That's a great way
because
to wrap up
I
the
know
show.
I know this is what the our audience wants to hear about. What was that all about? And really, what is your true opinion? Tell us how you really feel about it.
Well, I'm one of those people that has tried them all with more or less success, and I'm now at a stage where I said goodbye to them all. I let my membership run out, and this includes Bodalgo, by the way. My whole thing is I do believe it's a big contributor to the cheapening of our trade, of our industry. I just talked to one of my colleagues in the UK and said, you know what, you won't believe how many jobs I have to say no to on any given day because clients don't accept the budget anymore because they can get it cheaper at a pay-to-play. Might not be as good, but they have kind of cornered the market. And we as voiceovers kind of played along because it's very convenient, There's nobody to check your quality. They want to find out whether or not you have room on your credit card. You record a couple of demos, you pay your bills, and then in your inbox every day you can get up to 100 auditions. Off you go. And that's what people think is what we do. It's absolutely, it's really nuts because what I've seen is that in the years that I've started here in the United States doing voiceovers, rates were up here, and every year they were down and down, lower and lower and lower. And the subscriptions to the play-to-plays went up and up and up and up. And it just didn't do it for me. Even though I was really keen on trying to make it work, because I do this full time. I am in my office right in front of this microphone full time. So I'm always sure to be the first one to respond. So it's not like, oh, you were number 100 in the audition, so you didn't stand a chance. No, I was right there. And most of the jobs that I was getting were just not rates that would be profitable for me. My book is about what it takes to be a pro. Well, you got to price for profit, and I cannot price for profit working jobs that are offered on average on these pay-to-plays. I can't do it, and I refuse to do it.
And as long as you're doing well at it, that's the most important thing. I mean, it's more fun when somebody calls you and says, "Hey, we want you to do this," without auditioning.
Right. It takes more work, but
Absolutely.
It's a lot more fun, and too, because it's very easy, it's very convenient. You have the membership, like I said, the auditions are coming in. You don't have to do anything. It's for the lazy people.
I think it's a big difference between the hobby and the career of voiceover.
Oh, it's a totally different mindset.
Yeah,
the hobbyist just gets to have fun. Doesn't matter what it sounds like. You don't have to pay the bills at the end of the month.
Yeah, I mean, and you said at the beginning, somebody said, "Yeah, I make 80% of my income, or my what was 80% of my income on there." I'm like, what do you need to live? I mean, that could be only $40,000,
and that's working a lot considering the prices of some of those things. So
I know, and you do have to do a lot more for a lot less, and I'm just not playing that game anymore. But it takes time. I can understand that people who want to get their feet wet, want to do a little thing here and a little thing there and start building their portfolio. And there's lots of good things to say about them too, because, some of these sites have nice benefits. You get podcasts where you can learn a lot. There's conferences that bring people together. You are part of a community, so it's not all bad.
Yeah.
But if you, on average, spend, this is what you should do, on a day when it's raining outside, you don't know what to do. You go on a pay-to-play and you start listening to the demos, and really, it's shocking, absolutely shocking what you will hear there. There's one blog post that I wrote a couple of months ago, and it's called leavingvoices.com, and on there you'll hear like a minute or two of what I heard just on one day of all the bad auditions, and that was not like, oh, you know what, I have to really search for them. It was really easy to find them. And you hear all the beginner's mistakes. And they're there. And these people advertise themselves as professional voice talents.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. If that's the profession, then I don't want to be part of it.
Well, I mean, I look at how I hear that, I know they're out there. I know I look at the mailing list that Edge Studios has. It's like 16,000 people, right? I've spoken to a very small fraction of those people. And I'm not saying I'm the end all that everybody that's a professional needs to have worked with me. But there are thousands and thousands of people out there who haven't worked with me, or the likes of Dan Leonard, or other technical coaches, or coaches of any kind. And, you know, they're out there swimming in that sea, and we're up here going, look at these people bobbing in the water around us. How do they think they're possibly going to survive, you know? And why aren't they climbing on this boat? Are they ignorant? Are they just too busy with their lives? Is this a hobby? What's going on? I mean, if they're really serious, they should be in our community, right? I mean, they should be watching the show. They should be reading your blog. They should be engaged. If they're not in that community, I can't possibly treat them as serious unless they have just been lucky enough to have been blessed early on, or they're working at that top pro level, you know, the promo trailer commercial level. And, you know, they got into this well before this whole social media stuff came along. But I'm just ranting, but, you know.
With so much information available in cyberspace and in books and wherever, ignorance is no longer an excuse.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I had a client the other day. I'll wrap him up my POV on this, but he said, I use Fiverr, and that was the first client of mine that admitted to it. Or, you know, and I was like, yikes, you know, you don't bring that up. And, you know, and he's like, yeah, I've been there, done that. I've been in the forums, and I have brought it up, and I've been eviscerated for it, and da-da-da-da. And he said, but some people have been on the other pay-to-plays where they audition, and don't get any paying work at all. And I've had 130 paying jobs. Have they been great jobs? No. Have they been paying? Yes. Did they pay much? No. But he's at least gotten the positive reinforcement of doing it and getting something in return. So, you know, for some people that may work. I just hope that you don't get stuck at that level. You know, you have to be able to graduate out of that level.
Right. I mean, there are some good jobs that come through there, but I have a feeling the whole business is going to go through a major shift in 2014 or into 2015. There's going to be some changes, and we'll see what happens. So anyway,
thanks for your perspective on that.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I mean, and certainly it grabbed a lot of attention, at least a lot of, you know, people in the voiceover business's attention. And, you know, because I don't think people out in the mainstream who occasionally might need a voice don't even think about this kind of stuff.
No, of course not.
No. Well, I also look at it from the client point of view. You know, let's say, because we talked about crowdsourcing, right? The pay-to-plays. It's crowdsourcing. So when I needed somebody to design a cover for my book, I used 99 Designs, a crowdsourcing platform. And it's amazing. Within a day, you get 30 designers that all come up with, you know, our version of a demo. They all design a nice cover, and at the end, you can only pick one. So I felt a little bit guilty too, because I said I'm not so much in favor of this this method of getting somebody. At the same time, I don't have a lot of money to pay, so it's a great way to audition graphic designers too. And I know as well that the people are complaining there about, well, they're cheapening our business. So, you know, it gave me a lot to think about. It works as long as people can earn a living wage and there is a decent amount of quality control, then I'd be a lot happier. You know, if the minimum amount that clients were asked to pay would go up, you know, talk about voices.com, it's now $100. Privately, you can go even lower, but for the general jobs, it's only 100. If that would go up to 200, then we can start talking.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your studio right now, so we don't get totally into downers with everybody about it. I mean, it's a fun business, and you know, and it's one issue that we're all trying to deal with. But you're in this beautiful studio that you built and wrote. By the way, I love the book. I was like, this is what I'm going to do when I have to build a new studio. But what kind of stuff do you use in there, and what's your favorite type of geeky equipment to use?
Your signal chain.
Yeah. What's your chain like?
Yeah. Well, the book you're referring to is Building a Booth on a Budget.
Yes.
And it's only available on my my website. And that started as a blog post. I wrote about the whole booth building experience and said, okay, if it works for me, it should work for other people. So the space that I'm in was already framed, but I just had to fill it in, and I described what I did and how I created a nice sandwich that led to a good soundproof environment. But, you can see my baby right here. There's this beautiful small large diaphragm microphone, which I won. I don't know if you remember that. There's this website called recordinghacks.com. Yeah. If you want to know everything about microphones, comparisons, and there's great blogs there too, go to recordinghacks.com, and they have drawings. And a couple of years ago, I won the Microtech Gefell M930TS, or as they would say in Germany, Mikrotech Gefell M930TS, meine Damen und Herren. And this is just, they call it the East European Neumann, because before the war, remember the war? Before the war, they were one company, Herr Neumann and Herr Gefell, and then the war ended and the wall was put up, and Neumann moved to the west, and Gefell stayed in the east, and they don't advertise much, because they don't want to sell too much, because they can't make too many microphones, because everything is really, really handmade. So this is, the thing that I'm talking into all day long. And you have a nice Rycote Envision shock mount with a lyre system instead of wires or little bits of rubber or whatever, elastic band.
Elastic bands that wear out.
Yeah, every major film production company uses Rycote material. They started doing all these you see these big fluffy microphone covers,
dead cats,
and movie sets. That's how they started. So that's really good. I have a K&W desk stand, which is relatively new. It's nice because there's the cord is kind of internal, so it's very minimal and very basic.
That's the K&M, actually, right?
Yes.
John Taylor told us about it on the show maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. That's a nice one.
I think it's beautiful. I'm surrounded by things that I want them to look okay.
Yeah.
Another thing that I recently changed, I don't know if I can show it to you, but it's an Audient ID22.
I can hold up the one that I'm holding in my hand.
Yeah, you just got one, right?
Because I'm going to demo it. I can show it on camera while you describe it. I will.
Well, it's an interface, and it's a monitoring system. So my monitors are hooked up, and they are PreSonus Eris E5 monitors, very reasonably priced. I think they're $149 each, and they work perfectly for me. And I hooked them up here, and there's a big, nice switch there for them, and it's got 2 preamps as well, so you can plug in 2 mics. So I'm saving up for a nice new mic. I want to have a shotgun mic just for fun next to my large condenser. So I can both hook them up, put them in one preamp. So very pristine preamps, monitor, and there's a couple of buttons there that I don't really use, but if you're more into music production, you can basically turn this whole unit into a mixer, a virtual mixer as well. So it comes with software, and so you don't have to have this big switchboard anymore, this big mixer to carry around, and you mix everything on your monitor.
Do you use the high-pass filter switch on the unit?
Yes, I do the high-pass filter,
that's
and
nice.
and I do that. And so I had a very nice preamp. I had the Grace Design M101, which was one of my favorites, and that was a very high standard, and this one just sounds just as good.
This is like a Grace M101 with a USB port and speaker jacks on it.
It also has it looks like it has an optical SPDIF on it too.
Yes, it does.
If you've got a Mac, or a Mac Mini or an iMac or something like that has an optical SPDIF in, that's going like total digital in there, and you're like, there's like no noise at all and anything like that. That's a nice way to go.
It's completely the AD converter. It's just super silent, and the great thing is it used to be only for Mac, but I think in March they came out with some software, and now you can use it for non-Mac machines too. I don't think Linux, but definitely
Windows,
the PC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think having the high pass filter right on the unit, and it's kind of a nice thing. I know we do everything in post, but having a waveform already recorded without a bunch of rumble and junk in it is kind of nice when you have to go edit. You know, it's so much easier to deal with. But yeah, it's a premium box. I'm going to be, I'll hopefully get to it in the next week or two. I've gotten really busy this month. Yeah, it's a nice one. Nice choice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's very, very solid, very well made, built like a tank.
Absolutely. We got a couple more questions from the audience. Shelly Avellino asks, she has a question for you, which is why it's on here. Being a European, where are your main customers? U.S., Europe, or both? And she says, thanks for your help today.
My pleasure. Yeah. Well, I must say that, it's one thing when I talk to people and say, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm a voiceover. Oh, what's that? Well, I do commercials and I do audiobooks. Well, have I heard you? And I said, probably not, because I'd say 60% of my clients are in Europe. Yep. And about 40% over, 40%, 30 to 40% over here. I have a couple in Australia, some people in Egypt and Oman and, these parts of the world. But mainly it is Europe. Yep. So I sometimes have to get up really early, which I don't like at all.
Yeah. See, I'm finding there are people in California that actually get up at 3 a.m.
Oh.
And because they have to work with the guys who are working early on the East Coast. So that's kind of interesting. The Never Short for Words J.S. Gilbert says and asks, what do you think about the tactic of crowdsourcing that goes through voicebank.com, where 100 talent agents may audition entire rosters for one smallish job?
Yeah, I wish it were different. Even from the client perspective, it just doesn't make sense. If I were a client, I would go to a reputable agent like Eric Shepard, who's one of my agents.
And mine too.
And you too, yeah. You're in good company.
I know.
And I would say, you know what? Here's this script. This is the type of voice I'm looking for. Look at your talent pool and give me 5 people. Let 5 people audition that are guaranteed good at what they do. It saves so much time, it saves so much money, and you'll have a great result. Why do this? Why do this to yourself? Why have somebody go through like 100 auditions? Nobody goes through 100 auditions. It's wasteful. It's wasteful for my time as well.
Right. And it's really the talent agent's job to send the right people and know who their people that can do certain things are.
And they can do that perfectly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's undermining the agents at this point.
Yeah,
absolutely is.
Call me old-fashioned, but let's go back to the old system. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Just a lot more people in it. But anyway, Paul, it has been fabulous having you on here, because not only do you sound great, you look great, which has made life easy for George. You're a total pro. We're on Source Connect tonight, and it's, maybe I'm speaking too soon, but it makes it a lot more fun when there's no technical glitches and everybody looks great, sounds great. It's like an actual TV show.
It is. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun. When I get enthusiastic, I tend to talk very fast. So if you didn't get everything, just watch it on YouTube and then repeat.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, no, you were perfect today. It was great.
Oh, as we say in Dutch, heel erg hartelijk bedankt. Ik heb ontzettend veel plezier gehad en ik hoop dat we elkaar snel weer zullen treffen.
Gezondheid.
Mazel tov.
Tot ziens. We say goodbye. Tot ziens.
Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Excellent. Thanks for being with us, Paul. Always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Looking forward to seeing you soon. All righty. Well, what do we got left here? We have a spot.
We do. Should we run it?
We should. And we'll be right back here in East West Audio Body Shop.
And I'll let the cat out.
VoiceOver Extra, the voiceover industry's online news, education, and resource center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com.
If you have studio problems, bring them here to EWABS. Let's get back to more problems with Dan Leonard and George Whittam.
Back.
All right, we're back here in East West Audio Body Shop. Well, that was weird.
No, I needed to have my one misstep on the whole show because it was getting too good.
I spoke too soon. All righty. Well, let's see. What do we have in announcements? Now, there's this one thing. I guess maybe we should lead off with this one. Since I was talking about the 416 earlier. Can you explain what our good friend and patron of the arts, Joe Cipriano, is doing with our friends at BSW?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you must be under a rock or just out of the country and off the internet if you haven't heard about this by now. But what he did was he Joe's good friends with the folks over at BSW who knows Tim Schweigert, the president. He was on the cover of their catalog, which I still have laying here in front of me because it just cracks me up seeing Joe in the catalog. And anyway, he said to them, we need to get 416s in more people's hands. We need to make it affordable. And why not, tie in a way to promote my book? Joe's a really smart marketer, smart networker, and he's working it. So what he's worked out is you get a Sennheiser 416 shipped, I'm assuming, to the lower 48 for free. It's free shipping, so it must be the lower 48. And you also get the Living on Air book that he's put out in the last fall. And you get both of them together for $799. And
so actually what you're doing is you're like paying $799 for his book and getting the mic for free.
Yeah. So pretty amazing deal. If anybody's been in the market for a 416, if you've been on the fence, we don't know how long this promotion's going. For as best we can tell, it's basically for as long as Sennheiser will allow it. Or, I mean, they're in on it. They're in on it, I guess. I mean, whatever. I don't know how it works, but the bottom line is to get the deal, you got to buy it through BSW, and you have to use the promo code Living on Air when you check out. So that's all one word, Living on Air. So when you check out, use Living on Air, and you can get that amazing price. I think they've sold like 20 416s. They've sold out their stock, and they've got more coming. So
excellent.
Pretty cool.
And it's a great mic, and it really is, I was talking about it. I use it myself, and
we're not getting a dime to promote it. It's just, it's a customer service. It's just a community service thing because we want everybody to know about it. It's really amazing. And thanks BSW for doing something like that because they're probably not making anything on that mic. So
absolutely.
Pretty cool.
All right. Let's see what else is going on here. I want to thank our donors. We've had a few of those this week.
Yeah, we have had a few donors. We've had, if I go into my donor list, who we got here? Nathan Carlson. Thanks, Nate.
Nathan, thank you.
Gary Lindsay, Eric Aragoni. We can always count on it. Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Really?
What else? Jeffrey Chambers, Rhea Brownlow. Thank you. So, wow, what an awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're seeing the show right now and then the fine quality that it's in is because of you guys, and we really appreciate it. And if you want to donate, there's a little donate button right above George's head.
My gashed head.
Yes.
I keep looking at myself going, I look like Franklin
Don't
Stein's
look at yourself.
monster.
Don't do that. You'll be fine. So thank you, everybody, for that. Now, you've got a Twitter chat coming up this Wednesday.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Have you ever been on Twitter one night and you're looking at it like, why is there like a lot of tweets coming from this one a constant flow of tweets? Well, it's kind of a cool thing people do now. If they're trying to promote something or they just want to, answer a lot of questions very quickly, we do Twitter chats. So ACX asked if I would do a Twitter chat, and it's at Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. So all you have to do is if you want to be in the chat, all you're going to do is if you want to tweet a question, just tweet with the hashtag #TalkingACX. So if you tweet with that hashtag, you will then be able to your question can be answered. I believe that's how it works. If all else fails, just make sure you tweet at me at vostudiotech.com during that hour, and I'll make sure that your question is answered. So that's basically how it works. We're just going to tweet Q&A for an hour and see how that goes. So it should be fun.
Outstanding. All right. We have, it's not so new anymore. I mean, we've had this up for like 6 months now. We have a YouTube channel because every single episode ever of EWABS, East West Audio Body Shop, this being episode 144, we're rapidly hitting on 150 here.
Indeed.
I can't believe, I was doing some math and how long will it take for us to get to 300? And it was, sometime, 2020, something like that. But anyway, go over to the new YouTube channel, youtube.com/EWABS show with 2 S's, EWABS SHOW. There's a playlist there to help you find the content you want. Also, EWABS Essentials, our good friends Tim Keene and Jack DeGalia are working on this, and they have thrown together a pile of little tidbits from EWABS. So short little things that you can watch in 3 to 4 minutes that will be something important that we've done on the show, something great one of our guests has said, like the billions of things that Paul said tonight. And you can find them there. We're going to get that all organized for you, and look for just the right content, something, maybe a question you have. You'll find it in the content library, and you'll get it answered by one of our guests. It's sort of like something coming out of the past.
It's a knowledge base.
It is.
Of voiceover.
Yeah, so please go to watch the EWABS Essentials. And, of course, watch us every week, except next week, because we won't be here next week.
Yay.
I mean, we'll be somewhere, but we won't be here on EWABS. You can watch one of the replays. It's Memorial Day. We honor those who have given
the chat room
the
will still be here. So if you're here,
they don't seem to leave.
Just log into the chat room. There'll be people probably.
That's right.
You guys can
do your own show.
You can say, let's all watch show number 142 together. Or,
right,
no, maybe
exactly.
Not that one. But anyway.
So we will not be here next week, taking a well-deserved week off, because we've just been going week after week after week here.
Crazy month.
And on June 9th, we have a great show. Colleen Marlowe and Deborah Diane from the Diane Institute, which is now offering classes for new audiobook narrators and voiceover dialect classes. So that ought to be interesting.
Yeah.
And we're trying to reschedule our marketing roundtable.
It should be come up like the 3rd week of June, I believe.
3rd week of June or so.
Stay tuned for that.
And we've got some other stuff coming up. We've got. I know we're going to be doing a demolition roundtable, which ought to be lots of fun. But we'll tell you a little bit more about that when we get closer to it. And summer will be upon us soon.
That's right.
My son's home from college for a week.
Sorry.
Already the stuff is piled up in our living room, and but he's going to Puerto Rico for a month, so it'll be back to normal here.
Good for him.
Not that there's anything wrong with him being here. I mean, we love having him here, but the house is nice and neat for 4 months at a time, and then he comes home and it's like
small doses.
Small doses, exactly. Let's see. We'd like to thank our sponsors, of course. Harlan Hogan, thank you for all your support over the years. We could actually say that now. VoiceOver Extra, and of course, Edge Studio. Like us on Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. We've got like 1,500 people on our Facebook group now. And you get an individual invite every week. So if you've forgotten about the show, which you should never do, you'll know about the show. Follow us on Twitter at @EWABS_show, and subscribe, of course, to YouTube, to the new channel, and like the videos because they're so likable. Anyway, we'd like to, of course, thank our wives, your wife, Amy, for putting up with us week after week after week. My wife, Marcy, who puts up with this week after week after week. Oh, you're doing your show tonight, aren't you? Can you take an hour to walk the dogs? Yes, we can do that. But we'd like to thank them. Also, our producer, Kathy Curridon, who's getting all the great guests that we have in here. Anthony Gettig for being the Lord High Executioner in the chat room. Jack DeGalia and Tim McKean for the work on the EWABS Essentials. And, of course, Jason Lawson and Lee Pinney for their production assistance. And that is going to wrap it up for tonight.
Sounds good.
Almost perfect.
Almost perfectly 1 hour and 30 minutes. We could stretch it out for another 1 minute. We can get 1 hour 30.
Okay, there we go. And then it'll look nice and even. So we'll back time it just to 1:30.
Let's not say we did.
Okay, all right. I haven't done any back timing in years. You know, I haven't been on radio for 20 years. I go, all right, now, you know, and you had to do it with a record, you know, and you're like, all right, make sure you got the cue.
You lost me. You
Okay.
lost me.
Yes. Those big black discs. They were fun to play with. Anyway, and they made great Frisbees when you got really ticked off. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being in the chat room. You guys are just fabulous. We love you all. We wouldn't do it if you weren't there, so we're glad you're there because we have so much fun doing it. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Close enough. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day.
And, well, a memorable Memorial Day.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All righty. Take care. Let the cat out. And we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Night, everybody.
Sorry about that.
Meow.